of economy.
Mm-hmm.
Hi, I'm resident of Colorwood for YouTube, Joel Sains. That's my buddy Patrick McCray. That's my buddy Alan Gallant. We're here to review the movie Dr. Goldfoot and the Bikini Machine, starring Vincent Price.
The title alone just makes you smile.
It is. It's amazing.
First of all, when did you guys first... I actually first saw this movie today, just a couple hours ago. When did you guys first see this, Alan?
Probably sometime in the late 80s, early 90s, I'm thinking. It made its rounds again on local television at various times. It was one of those... I think it was in the package with all the Beach Blanket Bingo movies or something, because all the same people were in those movies. So, yeah, so at least 35 years ago.
Yeah. Patrick, when did you first see this movie, man?
It was about 30 years ago, which, again, this is a game I like to play. So about as much time has transpired from when I saw the movie to now as from when the movie was made to the time I saw it.
Yeah. Vincent Price is funny in this movie. Everybody, it's really, comedy and horror have one thing in common. It's about timing.
It is about timing.
Mm-hmm.
And this movie times itself beautiful. From the theme, the theme to this movie.
That was actually released on a Motown album.
Yeah.
That's a great song. I mean, any movie that begins, like there are a bunch of them, any movie that begins with a claymation Vincent Price riding around in a gold shoe,
yes,
with a Supreme song with it, is automatically a great film with a capital G.
Yeah, I want this song to be my ringtone.
It's a good ringtone.
It is. It's just so... when the music itself, when the melody, before you hear the words, when the beat of the song fits the movie, before you hear the lyrics, you got a hit. Which I love. That's the one of the many things I love about this movie. But I love how they introduced the woman who's the robot. She's
11.
A car runs into her, it breaks down, she gets shot at. And the criminals just surrender when the cops show up. They hand the gun, like, here, take it, take it.
Mm-hmm.
Guys, what did you think of? First of all, the plot of this movie is hilarious. But what did you guys think of the female robots?
The plot holes, you say?
The plot of the movie.
Yeah, it's
barely there.
It's barely there. It's a series of blackouts. It's all friggin' burlesque and vaudeville stuff. So it's barely there. It's just enough to thread it together.
But it works.
Yeah, it does.
It
absolutely works, because it's gag after gag after gag, silly joke after silly joke. And 90% of it shot in LA, and then they went on location in San Francisco. God knows why. I guess they love the hills or something for the car chases, but that's what they did.
I swear to God, they were probably opening a grocery.
Something. It's like a chocolate shop or something,
Yeah.
Well, when you notice the opening is done it is in this first person view of like someone driving. I guarantee you Naked Gun got some inspiration from this.
I would like to think so. If not, it should have.
Yeah.
It's along the same sort of line in terms of genre. It's silly jokes, sight gags, physical comedy, double takes, spit takes. All the stuff. Yeah, it's great, and you just sort of have to mood into it and just enjoy the ride.
Anytime a door opens, someone's gonna fly out a window.
Yes,
it's that movie.
Yeah,
I love how they coordinate the golden bikinis on every woman in this movie that's a robot.
Well, all but one.
Yeah, all but one.
Yes, all but one. Boy, that's a coded character, and she's coded about 8 or 9 different ways.
Mm-hmm.
There's so many ways that character can be interpreted as the robot that's not quite what he's expecting.
Right. Yeah,
With the man's
atypical, sure.
And yet I think maybe she was supposed to be a Pussy Galore riff with the
Yeah.
judo flips. That just
Yep.
occurred to me this time. The boots and the judo flips.
Yeah.
I think they just decided to take that, which was a popular image in culture at the time, and run with it.
Yeah,
Mm.
and I also enjoyed the the pit and the pendulum set.
A welcome return.
Yes, yes.
I mean, this no, though Vincent Price didn't write this movie. In a lot of ways, this is Vincent Price spoofing himself.
Oh,
Yeah.
Price is having a ball.
Yeah. He knows the check's going to clear, so he's happy as a clam,
Yes.
and he's just having a great time chewing scenery.
And I'm sure this was shot in about 2 weeks.
Probably 2 or 3
Yeah.
weeks. And they did a sequel. They probably shot it at the same time or close.
I think the sequel was shot in Italy because it features these two horrible Italian comedians.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Yeah.
So it was probably done consecutively then, rather than at the same time.
Yeah.
But yeah, what was it called? The
It was
girl.
2010, the year we make contact, directed by Peter Hyams. It was Dr. Goldfoot and the Girl Bombs.
It's where Igor smokes the obelisk.
I have some production stuff here for you guys.
Let's hear it.
Okay, the original title was announced as Dr. Goldfoot and the Sex Machine, and the film was to be directed by William Asher. Toro shortly thereafter assumed the helm as director, and Dwayne Hickman joined the cast. Filming began in late summer of 1965 with one of AIP's largest ever budgets. It was the first AIP movie to cost over $1 million.
Yeah, the location probably had a lot to do with that, because the San Francisco thing going back and forth.
Yeah, Vincent Price stated in a 1987 interview with David Del Valle that the original script was a camp musical, comparing it to Little Shop of Horrors.
Oh, what could have been?
Price stated it could have been fun, but they cut all the music out.
Yeah.
Though it's not clear whether the footage was actually shot or the idea was abandoned during production, according to Susan Hart. So that's some of the production stuff here. Now, the development of this, the original idea for the motion picture came from James H. Nicholson, the president of American International Pictures, who wanted to showcase the versatile talents of AIP contract player Susan Hart.
Not to be confused with Jack Nicholson, who actually did act in an AIP film. So
yeah, what happened to Patrick?
Nicholson was in. He was in one of the Vincent Price movies, I think. I can't remember which one it is now. I'd have to look it up. But he was also in the original Little Shop of Horrors.
Yeah,
the black and white version they made in the early '60s. But yeah, he owes a lot to AIP and those low budget guys in the early days, because he acted and wrote stuff for them. So
I want to ask some questions, but I'm trying to I'll wait for Patrick to come back.
Yep.
Why he left?
Kind of winked out there.
Vincent Price in this movie, I mean, yeah, he's having a ball. I agree with you guys for sure.
Absolutely.
I mean, the fact that they went out, I could see why they chose San Francisco, because they had a chase scene.
Yeah, and it's a funny chase scene because it's all these hills and stuff, and tight turns. They probably used Lombard Street, which is one of those curvy streets that goes up and down all over the place. It's perfect for that, because it makes the chase kind of looks funny, because of the terrain that they're jumping around on. But yeah.
Actually, this is 1, 2, 3 years before the movie Bullet comes out. So this beats Bullet by at least 3 years.
And this, well, obviously, this isn't a serious car chase. It's all
no.
So on. Bullet's the real deal. I mean, that was an amazing car chase. But yeah, they used the streets of San Francisco to great effect in a dramatic way in that movie as well. So
cats went goofy. They tugged power cords out, and it just went nuts.
Chewing on stuff. Trivia, a little bit of trivia. You guys know about the television series Land of the Giants?
Yeah.
Yeah. Deanna Lund is one of the fembots in this movie.
Really?
Yes. Yeah. I hadn't noticed her. I had to go back and look, but I saw her name in the cast credits at the end of the movie. So. And Harvey Lembeck, of course, which he was in all the Beach Blanket, all the beach movies. He has, I mean, they cameoed everybody from those movies that weren't actually having an established role in it.
God, Fred Clark is so good in this.
Oh my God,
he's having more fun than anybody.
Talk about one of your classic character actors from that mid-century period. Oh my God, yeah.
Now, if it's Todd Armstrong and Craig Gamble, why does Fred Clark keep saying what sounds like Fred? Fred. I'm trying to figure out what that's all about.
I'm wondering if it was a character choice of confusion, or
yeah. That could have just been an intentional joke throughout the movie, too.
It may have been something that developed in a rehearsal or something. The character is, he's seldom right but never in doubt kind of a guy. Anyway, so.
I'll tell you, I don't know why this movie makes me think of Stanley Kubrick so much, but it does. And imagine if you had Armstrong and Gamble instead of Bowman and Poole on the Discovery.
Oh my God.
Amazing.
Harvey Lembeck at the beginning in a gorilla suit throwing bones in the air.
Who would have been the voice of Hal?
Vincent Price. You gotta have a Vincent
Freeze.
God. Vincent Price would have been Haywood Floyd on the moon.
Yeah, there you go. Oh my God.
Yeah, Paul Frees, perhaps using his best Boris Badenoff voice.
So good.
Oh my God. Here's a question for you guys about this movie, because it was shot in San Francisco, and it is about the car chase, all the chase sequences in this movie.
Car chase, boat chase.
Yeah, boat chase. What did you guys think
of
the
car chase?
Probably one of the best multiple chase sequences in one movie. What do you guys think?
For its purpose, yeah, it's great. I mean, it's hilarious. It's a lot of fun.
Very Keystone Cops quality to it.
And they blow up everything, eventually.
They love blowing up things.
I'm almost surprised the way they did this movie. The one thing that shocks me most is because I love the airplane, the end with the airplane where Vincent Price and the other guy are laughing.
Oh, yeah, that's
straight out of Goldfinger.
Yeah.
I knew that was coming because I'd seen them both before, but it's like, yeah, it's and of course they pimp the maniacal laugh of the supervillains, at the end of it. So it's a lot of fun.
I'm surprised this movie didn't have a scene on Alcatraz Island, but that would have happened. But we do get to
I think was Alcatraz still open? It may have still been running.
I think it was still in prison.
Yeah, I think it was still prison at the time. With this movie, Where do you guys rank this of Vincent Price's roles? Because this is really good. This is really
It's
good.
not high.
Oh,
Well,
come
I
on.
don't think Vincent
It's a
Price
good
would rank it high.
in price, but in a good way.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's having a good time. Certainly, of the good times Vincent Price had, this had to be right up there.
Yeah.
I'm actually going to give it a high ranking, and I tell you,
Good.
For what it is, absolutely.
it's just
It's
because
funny. It's a lot
of all the funny like women in this movie and the funny characters, Vincent Price basically tops them all with his comedy because of how he's like insulting Igor, and even the guy who's doing the Igor, he's funny too. He's like holding the knife up to the guy and stuff. And when Vincent Price comes down and sees him upside down, he's like, "I can't leave you alone."
That's right. And then he goes.
You have
proceeds to
definitely
leave him
reached
alone
the
again
bottom.
immediately. It's a classic sort of frick and frack kind of comedy team, like you would find in vaudeville. You would find routines based on the straight dumb guy making mistakes or misinterpreting, and then the other more intelligent guy being constantly frustrated
And Jewel, all this stuff goes back 200 or 300 more years
Yeah.
to something that's called Commedia dell'arte,
Yeah.
where you had very, very, very clearly defined characters who wore masks, because all this theater was done outside, and people had to be able to see them and know who they were from hundreds of feet, and no one could rely on hearing them, even though they usually had distinctive voices. And so all these different actors, different companies would have these plays, and the actors only had scenarios in the background, like on the back of the stage that were written down to let them know what the next scene was. But they all had different bits of comical shtick, double takes, and it was called Lazzi. And the characters in Commedia dell'arte we still have today. The servant who's more clever than his master, and the saucy, brainy maid, and
the
the
lovers, the young
yeah,
lovers,
the military figure who's full of bluster but is a
El
dope.
Capitan.
Yeah, and the dirty old man, Pantalone.
Pantalone.
So, I mean, like all of this stuff, there's something very ancient in a weird way about the shtick in Dr. Goldfoot. It's like we're born knowing it.
Mm-hmm. It is. I think it is in human DNA. These characters, those lines of business, they're so recognizable. People identify with them almost immediately because, although they're stereotypes, they are based in reality, at least in terms of people that you recognize, even if they're like overblown versions of those characters. The old man who's dotty, and the kids who are running around, because they're adolescents and falling in love all over the place, and all of that sort of thing. It's all, by the time you're 15 years old, you've met a lot of these people.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
Shakespeare actually was quite inspired by Commedia troops that came to England. Yeah.
What did you guys think of how Vincent Price punished the girl for not getting all the signature?
It's kind of harrowing.
Yes. Yeah.
I mean, it's the idea of
I mean,
torturing
he's a super
robot.
villain. He has to be misogynistic too. So, he has to like punish the women in a patronizing way. Although he does that to Igor as well. He's very patronizing to him. But yeah, I mean, it's just more silly villainy is what it is. But the torture chamber culminating in the pit and the pendulum and all of that sort of thing. I mean, it's a wink and a nod all the way through, all of that stuff.
Guys, what did you think? Sorry, what did you think of San Francisco as this film's setting?
Not really used that much. I mean, it's visually we see it.
Yeah.
But it could technically, other than the windy streets, it could be taking place in any big city.
Right.
But I think anytime you set a movie in San Francisco, you're sending a message. And the message is, we're going to think a little differently. Mm-hmm. It's like when you set a movie in Chicago or Boston instead of New York. It's the same thing.
Yeah, this was in a period a lot of sort of avant-garde stuff going on in San
Mhm.
Francisco. We were about to have the hippie movement start up here around the same time as this movie was being made. But there, even before that, the beat poets and all of that sort of thing, they were on the West Coast. There were a lot of them between Berkeley and San Francisco. You know, the ones that weren't in New York and in the Village. So there was a lot of sort of, it was a place that was different and,
Yep.
and interesting and visually interesting, which is another reason I'm sure that they picked it to do the exteriors.
But my thinking is that they had some excuse to be up there. They had some reason to be up there, knowing Sam Arkoff. And it just was convenient that they decided to set it in San Francisco.
Mhm.
I think just based on this footage they had.
Yeah. Here's something for you guys. All the robots: Patty Chandler, Mary Hughes, Sally Sanchez, Laurie Holmes, Sue Hamilton, Laura Nicholson, Marion Gaba, China Lee.
I think China Lee was a Playboy.
China, yeah, it's pronounced China Lee.
Oh, sorry,
And she
China,
was a
sorry.
Playboy. She was a Playboy bunny. She's a friend of Kathleen Lee Scott's.
That's right.
Cool.
And she was married to, God, I think she was married to I think Dick Martin. No, she wasn't married to Dick Martin. She's married to somebody famous, though.
I'll look it up here in a minute. Isa Arnell, Deanna Lund, Pamela Rogers, Leslie Summers, Sally Fry, Kay Michaels, Jan Watson, Arlene Charles. That's your robots in this movie. They all do a good job. I love how they're, when the two guys escape, they go into the hall and here's all these women in gold bikinis and they back out.
It's a common sight, Joel.
Yes, that's right. Happens to everybody all the time.
What did you guys think of the quick marriage in this movie? It's hilarious.
Oh, it's totally hilarious. And it's, I mean, obviously the 60s was a great time to sort of lampoon libido as well. And they're definitely doing that here. Like the guy he can't, and he's just so hyped up and horny. He'll sign anything.
Sells everything, yeah.
It's just one of those kind of things. So yeah, the instant wedding has an impetus, and it's sex, basically.
Yeah. And Dwayne Hickman is very good at playing unreasoned libido.
And confused too.
Confused, unreasoning, good-natured libido.
Yeah.
Yeah, China Lee or China, sorry, was married to Mort Sao.
Mort Sao, the comedian. Oh my God!
Wow.
Yeah.
He was a major political comedian. I mean, just really brainy.
He kept doing it too. I mean, he was doing it in his dotage. He was still getting on stage with his red sweater, that was his trademark from the 50s. He wore an open collared shirt with a red sweater over the top of it, a pullover sweater or a button.
I'm telling you, these playmates of this era married really interesting men, and these men married some really interesting playmates. Kathleen Lee Scott, she married Ben Martin.
Yep.
Introduced to Ben Martin by Tom Wolfe.
The whole thing about the Playboy milieu was it was jet set, and everybody was into it. Everybody was into it. So I mean, all these famous people were around. So I can understand they had access. These beautiful women had access.
Jason Miller married Sue Bernard, who's the female heroine of Faster Pussycat Kill Kill. And Dolly Reed, who was in Beyond the Valley of the Dolls, married Dick Martin of Rowan and Martin's Laugh-In.
There you go.
I mean, just a really, really, and they all, and so China Lee Mary's Mort Saul. And these
Yeah.
are very interesting men. I think it speaks well of these partnerships, because I think they lasted, for one thing, and that these were men who were not going to be bored. And they were not going to pick eye candy and leave it at that. That I think all
Right.
these women, really had something on the ball.
Mm-hmm.
And that these men must have been decent guys too in real life to hold on to them. So
Well,
that's something nice.
Especially for the era. I mean,
Yeah.
they're all hanging out at the Playboy Mansion when they weren't at one of the Playboy clubs because they all knew, Hef, right, exactly. So I guess it was Hef and his brother back then that were running the whole thing.
Yeah, Keith.
Yeah.
Is Keith dead yet?
I don't know. I would almost assume so. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah.
But Keith was alive as of about 10 years ago.
Yeah. Let me check. Yeah, it died 2016, so
okay,
it's like 8 years ago.
Yeah.
But yeah, he was an important part of the whole deal back in the day. Sure.
Yeah.
It's hard to pick, but what's you guys' favorite scene in this movie?
Jeez.
Yeah, it sort of defies that measure. It's just
It
a
does.
fever dream.
How about what our favorite Lotsie is?
Yeah.
That repeats itself like 10 times in the film.
I think for me, the opening credits.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
I mean, the claymation and the song are just marvelous.
Incredibly 60s too, because they were doing a lot of animation / thing.
Yeah, to Patty Freeling and so on.
They had. They used to farm out the intros for these movies to these animation studios.
They did a claymation opening with a Supreme song to Cries and Whispers, Ingmar Bergman, and it didn't make the American cut. That's too bad.
Mm.
What I love.
I would say that I like all the establishing stuff at the beginning of it because it sets up all the jokes and then they can just rip. So you have Frankie Avalon stumbling onto one of these bikini machines and falling in love with it and pestering the hell out of her, until he pulls her hand off, kind of thing. Up to that point, yeah. Up to that point, then it starts to get really ridiculous after that because everything's been set up at that time.
I think just Vincent Price and Igor.
Oh yeah,
lines like "You have definitely reached the bottom."
Yeah.
I wish I were dead again. One of my favorite thing about this movie is it's something pretty odd because they return to a lot of places throughout the movie. They return to the one guy's apartment. They keep returning to where the one guy works, the government agent, and it never gets boring. They find a way to keep it fresh, and that's a great attribute for a film.
It is.
They cross a lot of genres with this that were very popular at the time. That horror genre, of course, at American International was doing a lot of films, and also Hammer and so on. That was hugely popular. So any recall to that with a strange and spooky front yard with the freaking cemetery in it,
the James Bond stuff.
The James Bond stuff, and it's kind of like. What are you, 002.5 or 2 1/4 or whatever it was? I mean, they were making a direct reference to the James Bond movies for that one. So yeah, but also at this time that this movie was made, Get Smart is getting ready to be foisted onto the American public, and there's elements of that in that section of the film as well. It's kind of goofy stuff and that.
Yeah, because they also make reference about his, you don't have a license to kill or something.
No,
It's like,
Yeah. No. No. Can't have Frankie Avalon running around killing people. That wouldn't work. It
The
must
deadliest
work.
Bond ever, Frankie Avalon.
but he uses. I like how he uses. He does the hand. He uses his hand as a gun, and it's so fast. By the time he pulls that out, it's like that was a clever small gag right there. That was really nicely done. Very, very fun movie pick, Patrick.
It is.
That's
Thank
good.
you. Just something the last minute. I thought, why not Dr. Goldfoot?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I hadn't watched it in a long time. I had a internet email pal send it to me about 10 years ago, and I hadn't seen it for quite some time at that point, so I watched it again at that point.
There is a good companion to this movie that I will suggest if you can find it, called The Love God with Don Knotts. And he did it. It was the last of his Universal arc, I think.
Okay.
You know, he did Ghost of Mr. Chicken, Shakiest Gun in the West.
Mr. Limpet.
He did he did Mr. Limpet, Reluctant Astronaut, the Clumsy Episiotomy, and then I love God, my God.
The over the hill shriveled nuts gang. You know?
Yeah, you know the
take a dump gang.
The uncertain moil, the nearsighted moil, yeah, The Love God is a really strange and extraordinary movie.
I bet it is with him in it.
Do you know what The Love God's about?
I don't. I've never seen it. I'm just imagining, Don Knotts.
It is a movie that really is between two cultures because it's an early 70s film.
Mm-hmm.
And some of the sensibilities in it are really very early 70s. But then other aspects of it are classic, wholesome Don Knotts shtick.
Yeah.
I want to talk to you guys about this real quick before we I know I said Friday, but I'm going to switch it to Saturday because Penny Dreadful is going to join for Bride of Frankenstein. So that'll be Saturday. Alan, you down for that Saturday?
Yeah, I can do that Saturday night.
Yep.
Sure.
Our usual time. Yep.
10:30. Yeah. Okay, great. Yeah, I've got 2 shows on that day, but the second show ends by like 9 o'clock. It's a short show, so I can get home by 10.
I'm also trying to get the Between the Shadows ladies to join us too. So hopefully
that'd be great.
Good.
Fantastic.
Yeah, Joel, would you be down to look at The Love God?
Yeah, I'll try to find it. If I find it for you guys, I'll send it to you.
Okay, I've got a copy.
Oh, okay.
So I'm okay.
Okay, I'll definitely send one now.
Yeah, yeah.
I give this film a 9.5. It's fun to go watch. What do you guys give it before we go?
Of its type, yeah. I'm not gonna give it a 9.5 as Leonard Pintgarnell bad film critic, or anything like that. I'm not going to get into that. But in its genre, it's a lot of fun. So I give it between an 8 and a 9 for that.
Yeah, I would agree.
Yeah. Links to Alan Gallant's YouTube channel, Colin's Sport After Dark, is going to be in the description box. Link to Patrick McCray's Dark Shadows Daybook on that will be in the description box. Go pick it up if you haven't already. Gentlemen, good night and God bless.
Peace out.
Peace.